Priti Patel makes those three, Rees-Mogg, Cleverly and Dorries, look like geniuses this morning, because her refugee policy is working perfectly. This is the point that people are desperate for you to miss. People are desperate for you to avoid. Priti Patel's refugee policy is working absolutely perfectly. People fleeing war in Ukraine can't get into this country for love nor money. The tale that I think got me angriest, most broken-hearted, most ashamed, I don't know what word you'd prefer to use, was probably the one I had to read twice because I thought I must have misunderstood or it couldn't possibly be true. Imagine, if you would, that you and your children had got out of Kiev. You'd managed to make your way into Poland, relying upon help and support from people, often strangers. You managed to make your way all the way to Calais because you have family in the United Kingdom who are desperate to throw their doors open for you and their arms around you. You got all the way to Calais, where you applied to come to this country, the United Kingdom, Great Britain, only to be told, sorry, you've got to go back to Paris and apply from there. We know that happened to at least 150 people, God knows how many more. I don't know quite what it is people struggle with, but Priti Patel's refugee policy is working exactly as it was intended to do. And remember, there is currently legislation making its way through the Houses of Parliament that is designed to make it even harder to get here than it is already, even if you are fleeing the sort of situation that's unfolding in Ukraine. There are approximately 5 million people in the Republic of Ireland. They've already taken in 1,250 refugees. In a country with a population closer to 70 million, we've now taken in 50. Why? Because Priti Patel's refugee policy is working perfectly. It's not a mistake. It's not an anomaly. It's not a consequence of unforeseen circumstances. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Fans of the absurd would probably have noticed that this weekend a couple of people popped up claiming that Boris Johnson is enjoying an upsurge in popularity among his own party. Why? Whether that is because Priti Patel's refugee policy is working exactly as it is meant to do, only the people punting that ludicrous line would be able to tell you. But remember, we're sitting in a country now where Jacob Rees-Mogg thinks that the amount of money squirreled away here by dodgy Russian banks is actually something to boast about. And Nadine Dorries can't spell Ukraine. So what question to begin with this morning? I'm afraid I'm going in on the hardest one of all, and it will, I appreciate, be particularly hard for some people listening to this programme to answer, because you didn't mean them, did you? When you took the knee in front of Nigel's grubby little poster, the Breaking Point poster, when you doffed your cap at that, you didn't mean them, did you? You didn't mean Ukrainians. Who did you mean? People fleeing Vladimir Putin's air attacks that were being undertaken on behalf of Bashar al-Assad's corrupt government? Because they're the same bombs, dudes. They're exactly the same ordnance being shot at by exactly the same people. So who did you mean? The people running away from Syria because they didn't want to fight for Assad or ISIS? Oh, no. We can't, no. We've got to carbon date their teeth. Priti Patel's refugee policy is doing exactly what it is designed to do. And it has made the United Kingdom look horrific on the world stage. Imagine reading about refugees, looking at the screens. Have you seen Kharkiv Station this morning? 1939, in colour. Imagine sitting in another country, holding the United Kingdom in high regard, thinking, rightly or wrongly, that we often lead the way on the world stage, that we were back in 1945, arguably, definitely the biggest player in Europe, arguably the biggest player in the world, although that's probably a slightly more complicated debate. And reading today about the kids who got to Calais only to be sent back to Paris to jump through hoops. I heard, and this is anecdotal, so my apologies if I've been misinformed, I heard that they weren't even processing paperwork over the weekend at the Brussels office. People turning up there essentially being told to wait until Monday morning. Wait until Monday morning. Pictures on the telly of your hometown being blown to smithereens by Vladimir Putin. You get yourself to the British consulate in Brussels and you just wait until Monday morning. Computer says no. And you get yourself all the way to Calais, they'll turn you around and send you back to Paris. But Priti Patel's refugee policy is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And this is the bit you're not going to like. Exactly what you voted for. Take back control. Control our borders. Uncontrolled immigration. No difference between refugees, asylum seekers and economic migrants. This is what you voted for. And I appreciate you're probably not yet ready to own it, but at some point you're probably going to have to. Because children are being sent back from Calais to Paris to jump through the hoops that you voted for. To wrap themselves in the red tape that you thought you wanted because you listened to people like Farage and Patel and the rest of them. So you tell me how this happened. 0345 60 60 973. Why, in a country where you didn't used to be able to turn your radio on without hearing the bleatings of some racist spiv, are we suddenly seeing figures as high as 76% saying that we should take in refugees from Ukraine? Refugees fleeing precisely the same weapons that Putin was dropping on Syria not long ago, when it was very hard to turn your radio on without hearing someone claiming that we should be carbon dating the teeth of people claiming to be children just in case they were lying about their ages. What's changed? And come at it from any angle you want, okay? 0345 60 60 973. A tidal wave of humanity flooding out of Ukraine, just as a tidal wave of humanity has flooded out of Syria or Yemen or Afghanistan or wherever else you want to choose. What's changed? Some answers are pretty obvious, some answers less so. And you'll forgive me this morning for not holding in particularly high regard the people in this industry that have led the line on the demonisation of human misery, the demonisation of refugees, the people who gave a season ticket to Farage, the people who wrote newspaper columns about how awful it was that we were expected to shoulder a tiny part of the international burden caused by the miseries of war. So you'll forgive me, I hope, for not celebrating an apparent U-turn in British sensibility this morning until I understand where it comes from, until I understand why, all of a sudden, people who not long ago would have been down at Dover rubbing their thighs with their toy binoculars are now silent. Well, actually, they're not even silent, are they? One of them this weekend's trying to punt an attack upon net zero, because I'll tell you what, there is no better time than now to increase Europe's reliance on oil and gas. A reliance that explains almost entirely Vladimir Putin's relative economic strength. And up pops who to claim that we should be tackling net zero instead of tackling Europe's reliance on oil and gas? Yeah, no prizes for guessing. So what's changed? What's different? 0345 60 60 973. Here's Steve. Steve is a genius, by the way, also a racist. They were economic migrants. Surely even you can distinguish that. Sorry, Steve, who were? The people fleeing Yemen, the people fleeing Syria, or the people fleeing Afghanistan? Go on, give me a ring, Steve. Talk me through the guide you have in what passes for your brain that allows you to conclude that person over there is fleeing a war and that person over there fleeing a country being bombed by the same man that's bombing Ukraine is not fleeing a war but is coming here in the hope of picking up your job. What's changed? What's the difference? And how do you feel, depending on how you voted in 2019 or perhaps more pertinently in 2016? How do you feel now you got what you voted for? Now that we've taken back control, now that we've pulled up the drawbridge, now that we've got control of our borders, now that we're not in danger of reaching breaking point because we've let in 50 people. You feeling good about this? You feeling proud? You feeling patriotic? Yeah? So what's different then?